Hi everyone, I'm Brandy, an OpenSciEd teacher and professional learning facilitator. Welcome to OpenSciEd Chemistry Unit 1, Lesson 7. This is an important lesson where our students will read about feedback loops and engage with a short mid-unit assessment. Let's take a look at how we got here. During Lesson 6, we figured out a lot about the microbeads. We tested light and dark materials to learn about the albedo effect. We figured out that there are different materials absorbing and reflecting light energy differently. When the dark materials absorb the visible light, their particles speed up and then they re-emit the infrared light or heat. Carbon dioxide transmits visible light, but it also absorbs infrared light. And this should sound familiar for anyone who has completed the OpenSciEd Biology Unit 2 on zombie fires. The microbeads could work by reflecting some visible light, but they are extremely expensive and there are environmental concerns. As additional carbon dioxide causes increased temperatures, a feedback loop could occur. In this lesson, we're wondering, how do feedback loops affect Earth's systems? Here's the lesson at a glance. This is a one-day lesson where the students will be putting the pieces of what they have figured out together. There are two related videos, an optional one about feedback loops, and another time lapse of permafrost thawing that you will show as an introduction to the assessment. This one-day lesson contains one sense-making loop, where we examine an infographic and discuss feedback loops, and then students complete the mid-unit assessment. We figure out that positive feedback loops reinforce the original cause, and negative feedback loops counteract the original cause. Through the mid-unit assessment, we figure out that one feedback loop is thawing permafrost, releasing carbon dioxide, which will then cause additional warming and permafrost thaw. We revisit the driving question board and we wonder how the berm solution actually works, and if there are any feedback loops that could be related to it. And now for the key moments. A key moment for student sense making happens in part 2. The distinction between positive and negative feedback loops is complex. If your students have gone through OpenSciEd Biology Unit 2 Zombie Fires Unit, then they are likely familiar with carbon dioxide in a feedback loop. Here they are exploring the differences between positive and negative feedback loops. The examples are set in history to provide more context for your students. Positive feedback loops reinforce the original cause, and this is shown by the arrows that return back to the earlier cause. The negative feedback loops counteract that original cause. This is shown with arrows that first pass through the opposite of the early cause. The key moments in part 3 are with the transfer task, which is an opportunity for the students to apply what they have learned to a different phenomenon. If your students previously completed the zombie fires unit, then they remember that it involves thawing permafrost. As an introduction to the assessment, the students will watch a time lapse of permafrost thawing video twice. They'll pay attention to the timestamp on the second viewing. From the transfer tasks, students will figure out that one feedback loop is thawing permafrost, releasing carbon dioxide, which will cause additional warming and permafrost thaw. This thawing permafrost transfer task will bring a close to the lesson set 2. After completing the assessment, you'll revisit the driving question board and lead your students through a discussion about what to investigate next. Since you've figured out how microbeads works, next time it will be time to look at the berm solution to see how it works and if there are any feedback loops that could be related to it. Let's talk about some tips and tricks to help you and your students understand this lesson better. Let's start with part 2. This infographic can be a bit tricky to understand when you first look at it. Here's how I break down the important components for my students so that they can understand better. The ovals describe the steps and process in the world that either happened long ago or is happening today. The timeline at the bottom of this infographic places the feedback loop in a historical context. Arrows show the cause and effect relationships. If the effect increases or becomes more common, it's represented with a plus sign. If the effect decreases or becomes less common, this is represented with a minus sign. The positive feedback loops reinforce the original cause, and this is shown by the arrows that return back to an earlier cause. The negative feedback loops counteract the original cause. This is shown with the arrows that first pass through the opposite of the earlier cause. There's also an optional video that you can show to your students that's explaining how to read the feedback diagrams. It's linked at the beginning of the Teacher's Edition in the Materials Preparation section. And now in part 3, it's important for your students to develop and use the cross-cutting concepts of stability and change. So take your time with your students to build these ideas in the context of the feedback loops. And if necessary, return to the mid-unit assessment on another day. To help navigate into the transfer task, I usually say something like, I heard about an interesting phenomena related to feedback loops and Earth's climate. After I hand out the assessment, I read the introductory paragraph as a class, and then I play the time lapse of permafrost thaw video twice. I tell the students to pay attention to the timestamp on the second viewing. If transfer tasks are new to you, check out the transfer task resources in the on-demand teacher support library under the professional learning tab at the top of the page. My students struggled with these types of assessments when I first started using them, but then I learned more about how to facilitate them. I clicked on assessment, and then I scrolled down to the section on how to facilitate the transfer task, which has lots of great tips for what to do before, during, and after the transfer task. When I facilitate the permafrost task, I find that it's useful to allow my students to use some notes while they're taking their transfer task. I make sure that my students have completed progress tracker and access to the feedback loops infographic to reference while they're completing the assessment. In the Lesson 7 Google folder, there is a thawing permafrost key available to provide you with some scoring guidance. For the personal glossary, in part 2, we encountered the words positive and negative feedback loops in the infographics. You may choose to have your students add these words to their personal glossaries. As for poster management, in part 4, after the assessment, you'll revisit the driving question board that your students created in Lesson 1. Students will help you check off the questions you've already answered during the first 2 lesson sets. This will be an opportunity for students to add additional questions that they now have as you head into the third and final lesson set of this unit. So to sum it up, in this lesson, students focused on positive and negative feedback loops and then completed the mid-unit summative thawing permafrost transfer task. Up next in Lesson 8, where the students will begin exploring the berm solution by first investigating what is going on where the glacial ice meets the ocean water. Good luck and have fun.